Call on 133 693 first. Glenn's on the line. Welcome, Glenn.
Yeah, good evening, guys. I think it's really disappointing that the Tasmanian government has done a complete backflip. Peter Gutland was saying that he would not be renewing Hawthorn and North Melbourne's deals with Tasmania until there was a firm plan in place to have a Tasmanian AFL team. Today, the government of Tasmania has done a deal with Hawthorn again to extend it for another 3 years. To me, this is a disastrous result for Tasmanian football. Clearly, the AFL's preferred model is Hawthorn and North Melbourne playing games there, and both clubs being propped up by the government. To me, this makes the Tasmanian team less likely than it's probably ever been. And I also think it's very unfair on the Hawthorn members. I mean, they haven't voted on these 4 games being sold to Tasmania. Surely the members should have a say as to whether or not their home matches are sold to Tasmania.
Are you Tasmanian, Glenn?
No. I've spent time there in the past, but I just think it's completely unfair on both Tasmanians. Surely they deserve their own AFL team. I mean, the argument is...
But hang on, like they're getting their own team. As long as the federal government or the state government stump up with some cash, like they're going to get their own team. We're as good as there. So
there's huge debate, though. There's huge debate. The Labor Party in Tasmania are very, very against the stadium. They're saying it's a waste of taxpayers' money, which I agree with. I don't think it's the job of the taxpayer to be building stadiums. The AFL is a business.
It's not the job of the AFL to build stadiums. The AFL runs 18 clubs and is a not-for-profit business that spends enough money trying to stump up the competition. They do not build stadiums, and nor should they.
But there's already 2 stadiums in Tasmania that have AFL approval to have AFL football played there for the next 3 seasons. So if the stadiums in Tasmania are good enough for Hawthorn and they're good enough for North Melbourne, why on earth would they not be good enough for Tasmania's own Tasmanian team?
No, Glenn, I completely understand what you're coming from. But if you're launching a brand new shiny car, you got to have your own. You got to build a nice garage to put it in. Like you can't announce this new team and say we're just going to play in that stadium in Launceston or down at Bellerive where it's -5 degrees on a Friday night in winter. Like you need a genuine stadium. And I've always been of the opinion that the state government has put the cart before the horse here. And they have. And now they're on their knees begging for hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government at a time where governments don't have a lot of cash anyway. Like I agree with you that it's a bit of a mess, but I don't have too much of a problem. It sounds like you might be a Hawthorn supporter, but I don't have too much of a problem of Hawthorn playing games there for a few years while the Tasmanian team is getting built.
But they've been doing that for 20 years, and as for the not letting a new team in without a new stadium, what about the GWS? They play in Canberra, which is colder than Tasmania, at a stadium without a roof. I mean,
yeah, but not every week.
There's only one AFL venue in Australia with a roof. Why on earth is it okay for every single other venue to not have a roof, but Tasmania must have a roof?
Well, because
it's completely illogical.
Well, because Tasmania is closer to Antarctica than anywhere else, and I'm not sure how much time you spent down there, Glenn, but it is freezing.
I've been to football at Ballarat, which is absolutely freezing. There is
cold.
No protection from the elements there at all.
Yeah.
The ground at Launceston and Hobart are far superior to the ground at Ballarat. So the AFL can't be saying that the Ballarat ground is up to AFL standard. They're even playing at Norwood this year. The Norwood ground compared to Launceston and Hobart is far, far inferior. So to me, there's got to be an AFL ground standard, and if the Tasmanian team can meet the AFL ground standard, then they can't. You can't say, okay, we're going to play at Norwood, we're going to play at Ballarat, we're going to play it in Canberra, but Tasmania has to have a roof, and they have to have all these over-the-top qualifications to have a venue, and then allow everybody else not to do it.
It's a really interesting call, Glenn. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of exactly what you're saying. So, correct me if I'm wrong. You want Tasmania to have a team, but it shouldn't be the job of the government who have been pushing for the team for the best part of 20 years to pay for a stadium. And if there's no stadium, they should just play at the grounds that are already there. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that there's 2 grounds in Tasmania now that are perfect for AFL football. And it's not the job of the taxpayer to pay
you play 5 at one and 6 at the other with a brand new team.
That's perfect. And that way you have people from Launceston on board, from Hobart on board. If you play them all in one venue, in Hobart or in Launceston, then you're going to get more people from just either Launceston or Hobart. It needs to be the whole state represented. It's got to be half at Hobart, half at Launceston. You train at one venue, but you also have some training sessions at other grounds. You have a family day in both Hobart and Launceston every year. It's got to be a team for the whole state, not just for Hobart, not just for Launceston. And this should have happened, I reckon, 15 years ago. They should have come in before the Giants and the Suns. And the other thing I'll say too is, there's 600,000 people in Tasmania today. When Port Adelaide joined the AFL, the population of South Australia was 1.2 million. So if South Australia can support two teams with 1.2 million, why on earth could Tasmania not be able to support one team with 600,000?
Well, it's very different because Tasmania's split basically in half. Thank you for your call, Glenn. I really appreciate it. It's a really interesting take. I feel like it's been an unpopular opinion for a long time, but I struggle to see how the government have had the gall to put so much pressure on the AFL to come up with money to build this stadium when the first two sets of plans that they came up with weren't going to work. I mean, a third of the stadium was going to be built on top of the water, and they didn't realise how much that was going to cost. Like, it's all very well and good to say that we need a new team and we need a team in Tasmania, and I think they deserve one, but they need it to be more organised. It's 6 to 6.